Okay, so here we are taking a look at El Gran Capitan. Capitano, I don't know, it just says El Gran Capitan. This is going to be the second part of the rules introduction. This is going to handle the optional rules for major battles, which I intend to try to use. We shall see how well that works out. I have my questions about the combat rules already for the base game, but let's look at these. Okay. Now, I'm going to kind of have to work these simultaneously to some extent. So, there's a reorganization step in the major battles, which works more or less the same. Each force is reorganized into corps, which are defined as a capitano with his direct subordinate. Remember, a major battle only happens if you've got both players are present with their Gran Capitano. Okay. Each force is reorganized into a number of corps, which is defined as a capitano with direct subordinate combat units. A corps is entirely resident on a single capitano card. The counter of the capitano is placed on his own card. Of each capitano commanding a corps is placed on his own card. All unemployed capitano are placed with the capitano general. Corps will act independently during the battle. No capitano commanding a corps may remain subordinate to the capitano general in this step. There'll be a reorganization afterwards to get things back into compliance with the main rules. The Capitano Generale may not remain unemployed. He has to have his own corps, essentially. And both players arrange their Capitano cards in order that only cards of the Capitani commanding corps are visible to your opponent. You can see what your opponent has. Battle initiative. Before the battle begins, both players are assigned a complete and identical set of tactical option chits, which look like this on one side and like this on the other. They have different things on them. And we'll be going through the different aspects of them. Now, the entirety of this sequence is reproduced here. This is how simple the combat system is, right? The entirety of this system is of the sequence of play for the major battles is reproduced over there in an easy form. This isn't the wisest place to put it because this is where you have the turn record track and your administrative points and the weather and all kind of stuff. Stuff that honestly could have been on the board and I would have much rather had on the board. There are enough charts and stuff. And then this would have been accessible. Okay. The number and types of TOCs in this set is indicated in the tactical options table and is a strict design limit. Where is this table? Says somebody who does not know. Tactical options table. There we go. All right. So we have the list and how many each player has of them, how long each one lasts, where you can use it. Okay. Each player rolls a die, dividing the result by 2, and adds the result to the initiative rating of their Capitano General. This is how many TOCs they can select for the present battle. In addition, if you're defending within earthworks, or if you're attacked by a force via an opposed river crossing, you get 2 earthworks or river chits. It uses an and, but they don't mean that, I think. These are in addition to those that you'll get through your battle initiative roll. Then the TOCs are secretly selected and distributed by the owning player among his capitani. Not trivially so. It depends on where in the battle your forces are. Like this chart says, for example, vanguard fight, main body fight, you can't put these on the reserve. This one is rear guard commitment. It can only be used if you're in the rear guard. The formation chit can only be used when you're deploying your forces at the beginning of the scenario, at the beginning of the battle. So, you know, there's weird things here. TOCs are secretly, yeah, okay. No more than 2 of these TOCs may be placed on a single Capitano. In excess of this limit may not be used, and they're set aside. The tactical options table summarizes the effects and features of all of them. All right, I'm going to swap batteries, and we'll be back. Look back here. We see the sequence for the major battle is completely different here, right? This is after the... Let me move this, and then we'll stop talking about this side. This is after sections before 3A happen, which are designating the attacking force, designating the defending force, determining the type of battle, I think is in there too. That's part of it. But anyhow, I guess that's not really important for this part, the determining the type of battle, because it's a major battle. It's 2 Gran Capitani available. Give me a moment, I gotta relight. The battle roster is divided into 2 parts, 1 for each side. Doot, doot. Okay. Each part consists of a vanguard, and I think this is what they meant by 2 parts here, was one side to the other side, but they didn't specify it as nicely. Each part consists of a vanguard, a main body, and a rear guard, which players deploy their own corps and give battle to the enemy. Both players, beginning with the attacker, alternate putting their Capitani on the battle counters on the battle roster in the desired sections of their own side. Each Capitano represents his own corps, that is, himself, his subordinate units, and his options. Subordinate combat units remain on his card. Formation chits must be played during this step or not at all, and they allow you to place corps in either the vanguard or rear guard sections. Friendly corps can be put in their own rear guard, but unless they have a reserve chit, they won't be able to take part in the combat later on. The number of corps which may be placed in the rear guard is limited to no more than the initiative rating of the Capitano General. I'm not sure why you want a rear guard. Like many games, it feels like the concept of a reserve doesn't really help you. It's just, it feels like you're committing less troops at the beginning. Yes, they're not vulnerable, but I don't see where they give you any particular advantage coming in late. So take that as you will. Okay, then after you place these, and you may have to place some TOC chits, you have to place your TOC chits, you may have to place some of them in order to even place pieces in the vanguard or rear guard, and in order to use units in the rear guard, you have to place them. Now, if you have wrecked units, you might want to put them in the rear guard just to keep them from getting beaten up worse. All right, during the vanguard fight, only the corps placed in the 2 vanguard sections are active. They can use artillery fire, execute cav charges, or engage in a melee combat, playing whatever required TOCs they have to do these things. Friendly corps in the vanguard must fight against enemy corps in the vanguard. If the enemy has no corps in his vanguard, friendly corps in the vanguard may fight against enemy corps in the main body. Corps in the main body are inactive during this, but they can be subject to artillery fire charges or engaged in melee by the corps in the vanguard. Corps in the rear guard are completely inactive, cannot attack or be attacked in any way. You resolve artillery fire. Corps that have an artillery chit can play it at this point. This is declared one at a time, beginning from the attacking player. The played artillery chit is removed from the Capitano card and put beside the Capitano counter on the battle roster over here, signifying that the first round of artillery fire is being executed. After the second round, artillery fire is going to be over and the chit will be removed. After the target corps of the artillery fire is declared, an earthworks or river chit can be played to counteract the fire. It doesn't counteract it, it impacts it. After the declaration of artillery chits, artillery fire is executed and the results are immediately applied. And we'll see here it says, see tactical options, paragraph 1.1.1. Don't think that's right. I think it's 1.1.1, because 1.1.1 would be in the main rules. And indeed, it's just missing. Resolve cav charges. Corps with cav charge chit may play it at this time. These are declared one at a time, beginning from the attacking player and then alternating between opposing sides. If a side passes, he won't be allowed to declare any more charges. If the defender plays a charge chit after the attacker has played one, you resolve them one against the other as a countercharge. The cav charge chit is removed from the Capitano card and placed in the battle roster beside the Capitano playing it. It is removed after the charge is executed. After the target core of the charge is declared, firearms, earthworks, or river can be played in order to impact the charge. After the declaration of cav charge chits, charges are executed and their results are immediately applied. Then Corps and the Vanguard declare melee engagements according to the provisions of rules in engagement declaration. Here it says 1.1.2. Again, I think it's 1.1.2. Unfortunately, 1.1.1, like GMT games, is not small. It is many pages. They're all named, and you can find them by name, but yeah, here's the engagements, 1.1.2. Okay. After the Vanguard fight, we go to the main body fight. Only corps placed in the two main body sections are active, and they can use artillery fire, cav charges, or engage in melee combat. Playing the tactical options, friendly corps in the main body must fight against enemy corps in the main body, but if the enemy has unengaged corps in his vanguard, friendly corps in the main body may fight against the vanguard, and so corps in the vanguard can be subject to artillery fire charges or melee by the corps in the main body. Corps in the rear guard are still inactive and cannot attack or be attacked in any way. You do artillery fire, cav charges, exactly as they were done in the vanguard against the units that you could declare against. Main body engagements, again, this is the same as the Vanguard, except against whatever you were able to target. If no corps are engaged in the main body at the end of this step, the battle is a draw, i.e. if both players have no main body left. Which is a reason why you kind of want your unit, like, it's weird. If you have units in the Vanguard, you can take it, and the opponent doesn't. You can do something bad to the other person's main body. However, if you get left without anything that's not demoralized in the main body, you got problems. You can't count on the Vanguard to win you the battle. Combat resolution. Vanguard and main body engagements are resolved one at a time at the attacking player's option. So you declared your melee options here. You resolve them for both Vanguard and main body down here, not in the Vanguard and main body resolution phases, or what are they called? Fight phases. Okay. All right. Both sides apply the combat results immediately before proceeding to another engagement combat. Beginning with the, rear guard commitment. Beginning with the attacker, the player may commit his corps from the rear guard to the main body, expending a reserve chit from his Capitano's provision of the committed corps. The Capitano has to have a reserve chit, I guess. Yes, the Capitano, the Capitano in the rear guard has to have it. From there, the committed corps will fight enemy corps during the next battle round. After both players have had the opportunity to commit rear guard, if one player has no corps left in the main body because they were all eliminated or demoralized, or played the muster chit, he loses so you have a chit that allows you to lose. He loses the battle. Go to step 10A, which is pursuit and recovery. At the end of this step 9A, if both players have no core in the main body or both played muster, the battle's a draw. Go to retreat, 11A. If neither of the two former cases apply, the major battle proceeds to the next round, going to the vanguard fight again, picking your targets, doing your stuff, la la la. And you continue doing the sequence until either in step A, no core is engaged in the main body, or in step 9A, this one player has no more core in the main body or played a muster. Having no core engaged at the end of a main body fight, having no core in the main body or playing a muster chit in the rearguard commitment step, these are the only ways to exit from a major battle. All right, pursuit and recovery, 10A. This happens if somebody loses, right? Yes. The winning side rolls a die and consults the pursuit table to determine the casualties inflicted upon the losing side. This will be similar to in the basic game. Then half of the accumulated admin points of the pursuit Capitano's army are lost. Half of that amount, again rounded up, are transferred to the pursuing Capitano's army. This is just providing more structure and these tactical option chits, really. The rest is very similar to how the main rules worked, or the base rules work. It's a little bit more complexity. Select the combat units to absorb losses due to pursuit in the following order: artillery before any other units, infantry units, finally cav. In each of the above three categories, or the above categories, demoralized units are selected first. The pursuit table gives the losses. Demoralized SP's count is 1 pursuit loss, undemoralized count is 2. This is just a repeat of what the base rules were. Redeploy both forces on the map and put a no-move marker on the winning force to remind players that this force cannot move during the next player turn, although it can expend MPs. During the next turn command phase, the no-move marker is removed and replaced with either a stand or garrison marker. Add 1 to the pursuit, so pursuit is modified as before. Retreat. The player with no core in the main body or who played a muster is the loser and must retreat. If this happens to both players in the same round, or if no core is engaged in the main body, both are losers and the attacker may elect to retreat first. Elect? I guess they can choose to retreat before the defender does, but they both have to. Yeah, I guess. If they have not already done so, both forces are redeployed to the map. The losing force receives an immediate retreat order and retreats its full movement allowance. Well, both are losers in some cases. Execute the retreat according to the rules governing paths and priority of retreat. Blah, 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 in the base rules. Tactical options. Okay. Now we're in something different, which is tactical options. This should be here, I think. There's a number of chits in the counter mix for each player. The total number of chits assigned to each side is determined during battle initiative. No more than 2 can be assigned to each Capitano. Within these limitations, you're free to select and assign chits as you wish, sorta, kinda. They're sorted in a different manner with respect to the illustrious predecessor game, All Was Lost Save Honor, due to enhancements in tactics after these first wars. Okay. Yeah, they're different tactical chits. All right. The first chit, formation. This allows a player to place his own core in the vanguard or in the rearguard section. 1 chit opens both the vanguard and the rearguard. No Capitano can be placed in his own vanguard or rearguard if the owning player has not also played formation. Formation may be played by any Capitano involved in the battle and must be played during step 5A, deployment of the Capitano. You only need 1 of them, but it allows you to have a vanguard and a rearguard. Artillery. This allows a corps to fire its artillery units and may be played in both the vanguard or in the main body fight. When played in the vanguard fight, artillery units must fire against enemy corps in the vanguard. If there are no enemy corps in the vanguard, artillery can fire against the main body. When played in the main body, they must fire against main body or unengaged corps in the vanguard. The artillery chit is removed from those on the Capitano card and placed on the battle roster to indicate first round of artillery fire. The second time you fire in a subsequent battle round, then the chit is removed and you're out of ammo. During a single battle round, only one artillery chit for each fight may be played by each side, vanguard, main body. And only if the corps has not already another artillery chit on the battle roster, i.e. you're allowed one chit per corps, one artillery chit per corps, and one per section, vanguard, main body. The chit allows all artillery units of that corps to fire one round of fire in a single battle round. What? Now, before, it looked like there were two fires. I think it's two fires. In a major battle, a round of fire consists of firing 2 times on the artillery fire table. The firing player selects a single different enemy corps as its target each time. This is weird. This is not making sense. It's not consistent. So up here, the first round of artillery fire, and then the second is run by the owning player in a subsequent battle round. After the corps has completed the second round, the chit is removed from play. It's put on a particular unit in here. Only one artillery chit for each fight, vanguard, main body, can be played by each side, and only if the corps has not already another artillery chit in the battle roster. I don't know how it would have one in each. I don't understand that. The chit allows all artillery units of the corps to fire one round of fire in a single battle round. No, it allows you to fire one round of fire in 2 battle rounds, if you follow this up here. In a major battle, well, that's what we're talking about here. You don't use the chits otherwise. A round of fire consists of firing 2 times. It's like they couldn't make up their mind. Do you fire twice at once or in 2 separate rounds? I think it's in 2 separate rounds. I think these rules are fucked up. Execute artillery fire. First, select an enemy corps target of the fire. Determine the total amount of firing artillery SP in the firing corps. Consult the firing table. It's based solely on the number of artillery SP firing, not on an odds ratio. If both players are use artillery options in the same fight, vanguard or main body, players will alternate rolling on the artillery fire table until they have fired 2 times for each corps. Again, this is weird. It's like these rules do not quite match. Again, I'm being thrown into a position where I feel like I have to make shit up to make this game work. I was impressed with the rules before, but had questions. But I felt like they answered them all. But now going through it with a fine-tooth comb, man, it's not making sense. Artillery fire results are applied to the corps selected by the firing player while the target player selects the specific combat units to absorb the fire results, i.e. you fire at a single corps, but the guy taking the hits decides which units in that corps take the hits. Artillery units never suffer SP losses from artillery fire in major battles unless there's no other type of unit that can take it. However, artillery units must pass required discipline checks as indicated by the artillery fire table. Rearguard corps may never be targeted by artillery fire. Demoralized artillery units may not fire. I don't know how to resolve this. Anyway, I gotta swap batteries. I'll come back for reaction charge, which is what happens when you fire at cavalry. Corps containing cav units targeted by successful artillery fire. Successful? How do you define that? Does anything? Receives an automatic cav charge chit if currently available in the countermix of the targeted player, i.e. if you haven't used them all already. This chit is in addition to the total number of chits that player may receive and may be in excess of the 2 chits that a Capitano can hold. It's not necessary for the cav units to absorb all or any losses from artillery fire. It is sufficient that artillery fire produces some losses or discipline check, that's the success, on some units. The reaction cav charge chit forces the use of cavalry in the fight and must be executed after the effects of artillery fire have been applied. This may not be necessary against the corps who triggered it. You don't have to charge the guns. It looks like it's an automatic, it looks like you get forced to take it, no matter what, which is probably okay. We'll get to cav charge and see why. Defending terrain, certain terrain features can impede artillery fire. Corps possessing an artillery chit may engage in melee, but in doing so, they lose their artillery chit, even if unplayed. Nothing happens if these corps are engaged by the enemy side, however. The artillery units are compelled to fire against the enemy corps which engaged them in this case, which I think just means... Now this is weird because... But I think it means they have to fire their artillery. If they're going to fire it, they have to fire it at the enemy corps. And fuck my battery. I'll be at some weird fucking angle now. Get it to work. But what's weird about this is, if it has to fire at the same place, that's in contradiction now to someplace else. But that may be somewhat mistaken. I'm trying to find it. Yeah, here. The firing player may select a single different enemy corps as its target each time. I think that's a may. A permissive may, as opposed to, yeah, okay, so no problem there. So you could train your artillery on one unit and then on another unit, but if you get, once you take account, once your artillery is engaged, once somebody attacks it, if you attack, you lose your artillery, you lose the chit. But once you attack with your artillery, or once you're attacked with an artillery chit on you, you can only fire at the unit that engaged you. Okay. Cav charge. This can be played in either the vanguard or main body fight and allows a corps to have its heavier light cavalry, or, not really, it's both, but in waves, charge an opposing enemy corps. When played in the vanguard fight, the cav charge must be against the vanguard, the enemy vanguard. But if there are no enemy corps in the vanguard, you can do it against main body. We've gone into this before. If you're in the main body, you must fire against another. You must charge against another corps in the main body, or an unengaged enemy corps in the vanguard. The cav charge chit is removed from those on the Capitano card placed on the battle roster. More than one cav charge chit may be played by each side per fight per battle round, but always from different Capitani, and a single chit allows cav units of the corps to charge. To execute it, you can regroup. Cav units of a corps playing cav charge may be freely regrouped into a number of waves. A wave is a group of cav units of a similar type. Each wave can be composed of heavy or light cav, but never both. To execute a cav charge, the charging player selects a single eligible enemy corps and designates a specific single combat unit as the target of the charge of each wave. Displace the charging corps near the charged corps. I don't know what that means. Like, you're going to be like positioning things here and trying to like represent who they're hitting or something. This is not really expressed very well. not in contact, then count all the SPs of the charging CAV units in the wave and consult the CAV charge table, taking into account SPs, CAV quality, heavier light charge, terrain, and Capitani. I gotta have a CAV charge table somewhere. Somewhere on one of these mini tables. That ain't it. This one didn't have it. There we go. Okay. So you look at the number of SP, you roll a die with modifiers. You don't want to get an A result because that's how many attacking cav you lose. What you want to get is a yellow D, which will demoralize the charged enemy and force that core to make a discipline check. And now my fucking battery again. If you get in the gray zone, your cav is going to be sent plundering, which we'll talk about in a little while. There's penalties based on the type of terrain, advantages for being heavy cav, penalty more for terrain. Charging against Swiss or Landsknecht is not good. Charging against firearms is not good. But if you get a flank charge, which is if the unit is already engaged, but you can't cross from main body into vanguard, you manage to get a bonus there. We'll talk about these in a moment. I gotta fucking deal with that because it just drives me fucking crazy. Slap them around a little bit to get them to pay attention. It's gonna fuck me over though again. I just know it. It's not a good battery charger. Okay. Where the fuck am I now? Goddamn fucking battery. Okay. You roll the die, implement SP loss, demoralization, discipline, Capitani elimination. Apply the results immediately for each wave. Now you're attacking an individual unit, not the entire core, but it can affect the entire core. One enemy core can be the target of many different friendly charges, with each charge resolved separately. Different waves must charge different enemy units whenever possible, but I think against the same core. Artillery units may be target of a charge and so become demoralized if the charge is successful. In addition, they must pass discipline checks, as dictated by the CAV charge table. Artillery demoralized? I don't know what all those numbers on an artillery piece are. I have lost track of what the fuck's going on. Do we have discussion of artillery? Like, there's multiple numbers on the artillery. What do we have here? Yeah, see, these are... What's the parenthesized value? Does it say anything? I don't know what the fuck that parenthesized number is. Maybe it tells me, like, now I've become completely... I got an FQ. You got any artillery on here? Can you tell me a goddamn fucking thing? Aragonese artillery. Quality is 2. That's in the shield. Yeah, it's not telling me shit. I don't know. I thought that was the strength points. The 2 from the scenario setup or something. Well, damned if I fucking know. I'm getting really pissed now. Fuck. All right, where am I? Artillery can be the target. I don't know what's up with artillery. Rearguard corps can never be the target of a cav charge. Demoralized cav units may not charge. If the defender played a charge chit after the attackers played one, a counter charge should be resolved. The two charges are resolved against one another. That is, the target corps of each charge must be the opposing charging corps. First, the Capitano with highest initiative rating executes his charge and applies the result. If the two Capitani share in the same initiative, the Capitano with the bonus star charges. If undecided, a die is rolled. Then, if the target corps survives, it may execute its charge against the first charging corps. I'm really losing it here. One side's charging corps, which is not countercharged, may freely charge an enemy corps. Okay. What the fuck? One side's charging corps, which is not countercharged. Fucking don't care. Some terrain can affect the cav charge. Cav SPs are not modified for terrain during a charge. Charging from earthworks river. You can do this, but you lose your earthworks river chit, even if the chit was unplayed. You can't pull it out of your ass. A corps which issued a charge can be obliged to engage the charged corps immediately after the charge is resolved, at the discretion of the charged corps' player. If the charged corps' player declines to do so, nothing happens and the charging corps is repositioned in its section in the battle roster. If the charged corps' player requires it, the charging corps is placed in contact now with the charged corps to indicate an engagement. An engaged corps can play a cav chit only against the corps with which it is engaged. After a countercharge, the first player who executed the charge is mandated to engage the opposing target corps, which I assume is the cav corps? I don't know. Flank charge. A cav charge declared by a corps which is not engaged against an enemy corps which is already engaged is a flank charge. A flank charge gives an advantage to the charging side. Some cav results cause a lost in plundering effect. These units are marked with the appropriate marker. They cannot take part in any combat activities, fire, charge, melee, for the rest of the battle. They cannot take part in combat or pursuit, and are considered demoralized when determining if a corps is demoralized. These units will return to the force after the battle if the force still exists. The rest of their corps is okay. It's just the cav units that get marked. Firearms. If you have a firearms chit, this option can be played in the vanguard or main body and allows a corps to screen the bulk of the corps with firearms-equipped troops, protecting it from cav charges or melee combat. This option may be played only if the corps contains undemoralized infantry which have firearms. It must be played at the instant before the charge or assault roll. The firearms chit is removed from those on the Capitano and placed on the battle roster, beside the Capitano playing the chit, to indicate first use of firearms. The second use may be run by the owning player in a subsequent battle round. After the corps has used firearms for the second time, the chit is removed from play. More than one firearms chits can be played by each side per fight, vanguard or main body, per battle round. And again, there's at least one place where it seems like you can only play one chit per. I don't know if that's what they're trying to say here. A single chit allows the corps to receive benefits from firearms. Infantry units with firearms are simple infantry units unless playing this option. The firearms option modifies the cav charge resolution die roll and causes the charging side losses to double, if they take any. The firearms option reduces the quality of the attacking corps by 1 in an attack on the assault table. Demoralized combat units cannot use firearms. They cannot be used during rain. All right, we're stopping here. I'm not dealing. Let's see if I calm down a little bit. Really was having trouble coping with what seem, at least to me, to be absolutely contradictory or unintelligible parts of the rules, which usually I can catch while I'm just reading. But again, the fine-tooth comb. Tooth. Kind of iffy day. It's Tuesday, early afternoon or mid-afternoon, I guess, because it's winter. But Raid has been very demanding, so I didn't go to bed until like 8 a.m. And no naps or anything. So no wood cutting or anything like that. It's a gray, dingy day. That doesn't, I don't know. I don't know if that makes it harder or not. All right. So we've gone through the chits up to combined arms. This option can be played if you're in the vanguard or main body fight, and allows a corps to employ combined cav infantry shock. This can be played by an engaging corps, which has an undemoralized heavy or light cavalry, engaging as it does so, and infantry units among its units, and which is getting to attack an engaged corps. It must be played before an assault table attack roll. So you're getting engaged and hitting something that's already engaged. This sounds like the flank attack to me. Did we do the flank attack? Not yet. Flank attack actually isn't a thing. It's a bonus for a cav charge. Okay. But this requires a flank attack. The combined arms chit is removed from those on the Capitano and placed on the battle roster beside the Capitano playing it. It is removed after the attack is executed. You can have more than one combined arms chit played by each side per fight, per battle round, and a single chit allows all heavy or light cavalry with infantry units of the corps to benefit from the chit. The effect is to increase the SPs in the attack. The cav go up by half. The infantry are doubled. Demoralized combat units may not be selected for use in combined arms. I did not notice before which is going to attack an engaged corps. The units... it may be played by an engaging corps about to attack an engaged corps. So you have to be hitting a flank attack for combined arms to work. Not something I was expecting. Okay. Reserve. This option may only be played during the rear guard commitment. Now, played isn't how they get on the card or whatever, right? Played is them activating it from the card. So you could conceivably have chits that you have no chance to use on cards. Hopefully not by just putting them there. This option may only be played during rear guard commitment and allows the players to commit a corps from the rear guard to the main body. It may only be played if the formation option was also played during deployment or capitani. Now, what was the other one? Formation. We talked about formation. Wherever you place the formation chit kind of doesn't matter. It just allows you to use these other sections. I thought you had to put the first time I read it, I thought you had to put a formation chit on everybody who's going into the rear guard or vanguard, and the reserve if you want to come out of the rear guard. So it's like, wow, that really weakens it. More than just, why the fuck are you in the rear guard, dude? Corps, okay. Now, one reason not to go in the rear guard is if you have like a weak corps or something like that, in addition to like being beaten up. If you have a weak corps, it might be useful to wait and not leave a target in the main body or vanguard, where it can get, again, just like if you have a beat up corps. So it's kind of, I don't know, there's some interest to what you can do with it. Okay. Core and the rear guard are not taken into account for any reason in combat. Core committed during the rear guard commitment. Each core committed must spend a reserve chit from its own allotment, and the core is placed in the main body section of the owning player. From there, the core will engage or be engaged by enemy core in the next round of battle. If a core is committed, all its combat units are, none may be withdrawn. Only a number of core at most equal to the initiative of the Capitano Generale may be placed in the rear guard. Artillery can be put in the rear guard, but they may not fire until their core is committed. Core with demoralized combat units may be put in reserve, but if the core is committed, those units may not take part in the combat in any way, and anything demoralized isn't going to be able to anyway. Muster. This option can only be played by the Capitane General in the vanguard or main body fight, and only after the completion of the first round of battle, not immediately after. This chip may be played after the resolution of any engagement, i.e., you don't have to fight out the entire sequence in the main body or vanguard or whatever. It allows the player to end and consequently lose the battle. It should be used when one side sees more advantage in giving up the fight than in going on. I don't know. Like, walking in with a, I'm going to lose and get pursued shit, like spending the effort to do that, to reduce your losses, that feels like a really hard decision, like a hard thing to choose, unless you know you're outnumbered. The side playing a muster must roll a die for each Capitano of a core belonging to his side. The core may be engaging. Okay, so here, this is different, right? Here I'm taking a look at combined arms may be played by an engaging core which has undemoralized, which is going to attack an engaged core. Engaging seems to be the word they use for the engager. Ugh. This is really a troublesome choice, and it's not really spelled out, but I think combined arms can be played without that flank attack type situation. You just have to be going into melee. So I read it right the first time, but their choice of words is having difficulty with my comb. The core may be engaging, engaged, free, or demoralized. The initiative rating of the core Capitano and the initiative rating of the Capitano Generale are added to the die. A demoralized core adds a -1. A free core, i.e. not engaged, adds +1. If the final result is greater than or equal to 10, the core disengages and retires in good order. This means that the core won't suffer any pursuit effect. Okay. If the final result is less than 10, the core will be subject to a pursuit after battle. So it does allow you to break away a little early. Yeah, okay. I can see putting this in your limited choice of chits on your Capitano General, simply because, yeah, if the battle is going badly and I have a quality Capitano Generale and some decent regular Capitano, Capitani, I could get out of the battle at less cost, which might be important. Probably not in this tiny scenario. I feel like this is going to be decided on one battle. The side playing muster always loses the battle, even if all core manage to retreat in good order. If both players should play muster at the same time, though, both are losers and there's no pursuit. You need to switch batteries. Well, I'm certainly less cranky, and it's making sense so far today. But the stuff I saw yesterday that was really beating me up is stuff that wasn't making sense. I may have just been too tired to even understand the rules. As opposed, I think I was finding real shit though. But I was very tired and very cranky because of finding what appear to be inconsistencies or outright contradictions. Right. I remember last night I promised myself I would go look at the errata, and I forgot to do that before I came up here. So I decided to take a pause, go down and check the errata. Not very helpful. First of all, I couldn't find any, not on their company website, not on BGG in a file. I did peruse the questions because there aren't a lot of people playing this game, so there weren't a lot of questions. None of them were about anything that I didn't think I understood. I peeked at a couple that were a little bit vaguer looking and saw the questions there and then the answers. And I'm not sure I agree with the answer from my interpretation. But I'm not sure I don't, because in some cases they were kind of, somebody asked a negative question and the answer was a one-word no. And I don't know which way to interpret that. And just crap like that. Which may, I think it was an Italian questioner to an Italian author, both in English, but it was like, yeah, there may be, a cultural no, maybe no, you are correct, right, in general there. Whereas for me, I parse things logically no matter what I say. But, okay. So screw it. I'm not going to find any help, which is fine, because I think I can make things up. I think. What was the one that I had trouble with? Yeah, the artillery shit. Yeah, that's just wrong. I mean, it just doesn't work. I don't remember any. I remember running into hitches in the main rolls, but I felt like they were all resolvable. Although some of the answers may have gone against one of my resolutions, which is something. Well, it was a weird question. It was a question I didn't even come up with, which was, if something gets a D and it gets another D, does it suffer it? No, there's nothing you can do to it. It's demoralized. That's it. It has that effect. I can understand thinking, well, maybe it's destroyed or something, but if there's no rules for that, I wouldn't even consider it. Okay. Oh, what are these little letters here? They tell you where you can play the chit. So you can play the muster anywhere. The reserve has to go in the rear guard to be playable, etc. And those are right on the chits to help you. I don't know. I feel like I'm going to have to look this shit up either here or maybe for the lighter version on the player chart. But I'm going to have to look this up consistency. Okay, the earthworks and river. These chits may be played in the vanguard or main body fight. Each chit allows a corps to use protection from the earthworks its forces in or exploits the benefits of being behind a river. And again, here we're coming to where the language gets in trouble for me. These chits may be played, each chit allows a corps to use protection. No, that's not it. Earthwork chit is received only if a defending force is in an earthworks hex. River is received only if a defending force is attacked by a force with an opposing river crossing marker. The chit must be played the instant before artillery or charge die roll or assault table attack die roll. This is a little weird. You know the enemy has earthworks or is behind a river, but when you declare, artillery fire or a assault on them, you don't know that they're across the river or in the earthworks from you. To me, it feels like you might not know whose troops they are that you're attacking, but you sure the hell can see the goddamn river. And you probably can see the earthworks. The chit must be played the instant before the roll. The earthworks or river tactical option chit must be placed on the battle roster beside the Capitano playing the chit to indicate protection from earthworks river. The chit is never removed unless the corps engages. Engages means they attack someone else. The earthworks or river option protects from artillery fire and cav charges, granting the benefits due to the river hexes or earthworks indicated by the TEC. Further, the opposing enemy corps must use the affecting line on the assault table. Okay. My feeling here is that this should not be hidden. That feels absolutely goofy. Oh, look! He diverted the river right in front of us. We didn't know those units were behind the river. And the earthwork should be almost as obvious, right? The river, everybody knows where it fucking is. In some cases, earthworks can be kind of a surprise. And I'm beginning to think that those should have to be played during the setup, face up. And I may just tinker with that, just because this is just so bogus, right? And yeah, that surprise effect is going to be powerful, but it's kind of powerful to have them, protected. Honestly, what it doesn't give you is a capability to protect your entire force behind a river or in earthworks, if it's a relatively, large number of core. And that kind of disturbs me as well. Like, there should be more available. There's only 2, I think. There we go. Earthworks and river, there's a maximum of 2 for each player. Oh, this is what I saw, and it was worded somewhere else, back here, where you give the chits to people. 2 of each kind, earthworks or river chits, are received if the force is in earthworks or is attacked by a force in an opposed river. The way this is worded sounds like you get 2 of each if they've got either. Obviously, that's, again, not what's meant. But it is somewhat disturbing that, anyway. Engagement declaration. Now, this is something that I've had trouble with other rule books, and I'm immediately having trouble with this one. So, all this stuff is 01 or 01.1.1.1, and then all these things in kind of bold print that I can see. That's helpful to discern them. But then the numbers look like it's something smaller, because it's less bold. It's just something that, my OCD gets me about that kind of shit. An engagement is a contest between opposing corps where one can distinguish between attacking, engaging, and defending engaged. So they're defined that way. Corps. The simplest way to show this difference is to advance the engaging corps face to face and in contact with the engaged corps in the section of the battle roster where the engaged corps stands. So you'd actually move out of your main body into theirs if you're advancing into their terrain. How I read it. In every engagement, one side's corps are engaging or engaged, but never both. A corps in a battle may be engaging, engaged, or free, not an engagement. So these are all being defined nicely. Corps in a battle are represented by the Capitani commanding them deployed on the battle roster, which is this. Engagement general rule. As a general rule, every engagement is always composed of one corps engaging one or many corps. This is similar to how it was in the main battle from before. We're not going to go over that again. How engagements are declared. Beginning with the Capitano with the highest initiative rating, and then descending from him, the Capitani commanding free corps, unengaged, decide whether to engage in any enemy corps. If more Capitani share the same initiative, the Capitano with a bonus star decides. If still undecided, a die is rolled. An engaged corps may not engage other corps. If a Capitano cannot or doesn't want to engage, it passes, and the next eligible corps is considered. In the main body fight, the corps with the lowest initiative must engage, if it can, and there are free enemy corps. A friendly corps may engage one or more enemy corps. However, the total number of undemoralized SP of the engaged corps must not be greater than 2 times the amount of undemoralized SP of the engaging corps. I don't know if that's the general case, or if that's it appears to be part of a friendly corps may engage one or more enemy corps. So, no, one or more, yeah. So I can't engage, cross over the board, against somebody who's significantly bigger than me. Free corps may join other engagements in attack, but the corps may not attack together unless a corps plays a fight coordination option, see above. Now this is an interesting thing. There ain't any of those. nor anything that kind of looks like them. Nor here. Uh-oh. I am going to look at the old game. All is lost save honor. I am guessing that some of the shit is coming in from there. And that may help me determine what are new rules that are intended to be in this game and what are leftovers that made it through the edit somehow. I brought this sucker up. Fight coordination is indeed from the original game. It's not in this one. So I'm guessing there are other artifacts that have crept in and are what is causing me issues. By the way, when I pulled that out, I found something, I don't know why I have this in here. Dixie variant counters. Now I have SPI's Dixie. I don't know what these do. And I'm wondering if these are part of them. U.S. Marine Corps, trans, these look like they're part of it. I don't know how that slipped in there, but yeah, I may hunt down my Dixie game and throw those in it, and then try to figure out some rules for them. If I play it again, I think I've played it on video. It was not a big winner, but yeah. So what I'm gonna do is, I guess I'm gonna I'll continue with the rules. If I find more things, I'll look them up in here, see if I'm looking at an artifact. I think the artillery rules are an artifact of this transfer of the rules. That's a very sad thing, right? Point out another thing. These are okay, but kind of thin, slick. The map quality is about the same, the counter quality is about the same. But the All is Lost Save Honor player charts, although not colorful, are really nice stock. You know, the rest of it, it's a folio game. The rule book's in glossy paper, which I'm not a fan of. I do remember one of those other rules from the base rules that caused a problem that felt like an artifact, which is the withdrawal rule. There was an advance after combat in the combat common procedure, which is not mentioned anywhere else. Now I'm looking for it. I think it's here. No. Oh man. I don't remember where the fuck it was. There was some place that indicated advance after combat was possible. That doesn't appear to be in here. If I could find that rule, maybe I could find it in here, right? That's what I discovered in the original rules. The advance after combat is in there and is explained. It doesn't exist in this set. Another artifact. In addition, for artillery fire, the original set has the fire happening on 2 separate rounds. Here, it seems to have kept that and added a new thing where both fires are done simultaneously. Like, where basically, if I play an artillery chit, we each fire. The alternating is in place in the original set. I don't know which I like better. There's something I kind of like about having to put the time limit in, and I may neglect what's written here. I'm going to post a question on BGG about this, or a thread about it, because this is something pretty major that there's like, certainly there's two things that are just that crept in from the original rules that don't have any meaning in this rule set. And those were fairly easy to identify. But this artillery one is also written differently between the two rule books. There's like two sets of rules in the artillery fire in El Gran Capitan. And that does not please me. I don't think it really matters which I choose. They both seem reasonable. And I'm also going to mention about the earthworks and rivers. Do we have to have those in here, right? Because this is a later period. Yeah, these are the same rules, so I won't ask any question about that. It's pretty clear they intend you to be able to pull a river out of your ass and throw it in front of the enemy. I just find that so unbelievable I can't play it. I have to change that rule. But yeah, I posted my notes on that, and I'm keeping all his lost save honor up here just in case. I also posted my disapproval of the earthworks river, even though that's common in both. I really want to express that just seems so crazy. Okay, so where are we? And if we find more, I'll add to it. Okay, so I think this fight coordination is gone, and the general rules of this seem to allow for coordination within the fight. So I think that shit has just been destroyed and has been added as a standard rule. Is that the right way to do it? I don't know. But there's all this discussion about, many core against single. You know what? Let me look. I'm worried about this. That does carry over from the other rules as well, which is to say, although you can hit something with two core, they don't roll as a single unit together, I think. I think the fight core, because it doesn't make sense that the armies would be more coordinated at this point than they would be 50 years later. Just, my knowledge of history and whatnot. Certainly, you could make an argument that, that kind of coordination was possible at some earlier periods in time, way earlier. Like, the Romans or something maybe were able to manage such things. But I think the intention here is the fight coordination. That special situation that allows for it is just gone in this earlier period, is just missing. Okay. And a corps may not voluntarily disengage. It must remain in the engagement until it or its opposing corps becomes demoralized or completely eliminated, or musters. There's another option, which is, well, not full disengagement, but you can pick off an enemy corps with one of your free corps. Engagement resolution, these are resolved one at a time at the option of the player who attacked in step 1 of the battle sequence. But they're kind of done at the same time, right? Like, you do all this other stuff, then you get to the engagement, and you go through each one attacking. Engaging corps will attack engaged corps using the assault table. In a major battle, each reference to the attacking defending force is to be intended to be the engaging and engaged corps, respectively. Yeah. When multiple engaged corps are present, the engaging corps attacks each engaged corps one at a time in the order selected by the engaging player, applying results sequentially. The engaged corps must use different chits. One corps cannot benefit from the chits played by the other side. Yeah, they can have the same chit. They can have chits with the same word on them, but different physical objects. If one attack completely demoralizes the engaging corps, the remaining attacks are not done against that engaging, no, by that engaging corps, I'm guessing. This is kind of floating out in the middle. Likewise, well, if your engaging corps is attacking multiple corps, they get to combine their strength on defense. Now, this was your own stupidity if you did this generally. I mean, you wouldn't have to attack. Would you? No, you might be forced into this situation where you're on the enemy's side. I don't know. We'll have to see how it plays out. I think it's really unlikely that somebody is going to attack two corps with one of theirs, but you might want to do it in some special circumstances, like a couple of really weak corps, or to soak damage or something like that. So there's a lot. I don't know. There's a lot of reasons it might happen voluntarily, and I think it can happen involuntarily as well. I attack your corps, and then you bring another corps in, attacking mine. That becomes kind of weird, because my corps is an engaging corps against the first one, and then yours would be an engaging against mine, and I don't know how you demonstrate that. So I'm not sure that would work. The same engaged corps may be attacked by many engaging corps, but the corps may not attack together unless, here we go again, a corps plays a fight coordination option. Therefore, when more than one engaging corps are present, a single engagement will usually imply the execution of many attacks on the assault table. Before resolving the attack on the table, each player may play any allowable tactical options to assist attack and defense, with the engaging player declaring first. Then the engaging player rolls a die, applies all appropriate modifiers and cross-references the result on the assault table. Now, who is the engaging? Like, when is this determined? Because it's possible for this to go in either direction. And I'm just a little confused about how that's going to work. Because you do not have to attack a free corps. You can attack an already engaging or engaged corps. And I don't know what happens in that case. Like if you're engaging against someone who's already engaging. That's the thing I don't get. This would be covered in the Vanguard attack, right? Vanguard engagements, this is engagement declaration. That's what I was looking at, right? Well, oddly enough, this refers me to paragraph 1.1.2 in the base rules, whereas it should be 1.1.2.2. I think the O is just missing because 1.1.2 is not going to be combat. Okay, fair enough. If it can in their free enemy corps, a friendly corps may engage one or more enemy corps. Free corps may join other engagements in attack, but the corps may not attack together. Free corps may join other engagements in defense of a friendly corps. So I guess they become engaged units. You can commit a free corps as an additional defender, and therefore it's very possible that one corps will be attacking too many. And we got the broken down into smaller engagements rule here as well. So if I throw a second corps at you, then you have the option to pick off one of those two with another one of your engaging corps. I don't know if I'm making sense, but I'm working it out in my own head, unfortunately. Kind of weird. I'm not sure what these videos are for, you know. You get to see my mindset and the struggle that I'm making, but you may not be getting the rules out of them when I fight my way through. Okay, let's keep going. Combat. So you roll the assault. You take the losses in the normal order that they're listed, that they happen elsewhere, and the units that are demoralized are flipped, etc. This all follows the other, the combat from the base game. It's just being repeated here for added chance of errors in case there's any difference from the original. A corps becomes demoralized when all its combat units are demoralized. A corps becomes demoralized also when more than half of its combat units are demoralized, and its combat units in good order have all morale level equal to or less than 1. What is morale level? Is that the shield number or is that quality? I can't remember. I think it's meant to be the shield number no matter what. What is it? More than half? Where was it? Demoralized? More than half of its combat units demoralized, and its combat units in good order are all equal or less than 1. It's got to be the shield. I'm just curious whether or not they screwed up, to be honest. We have reliability, class, and quality. We don't have morale level defined in the game. But it's got to be the shield value. Because what's going to happen is your higher quality units... First of all, if you've got a weak force of quality 1, and there's possibilities of quality being dropped, by the way, demoralizing more than half the force will demoralize the entire corps. If you've got a higher class, a higher quality, the higher quality units are going to be taking the majority of the losses. So you will run down towards the lower qualities and end up with your force slowly, coming closer to demoralization, even if it doesn't take demoralization factors. Now, the other thing, though, is you're going to probably take your demoralization hits on your weaker quality units. I got to swap batteries. I feel so bonused by finding this. Like, I had these 5 counters that were kicking around loose up here, and I had no idea what they were from. It is just such a random thing that counters from Dixie had found their way into here, that like a slice of counter sheet had found its way into there. And like, I've got a few of these that are kicking around that are like replacement counters or bonus counters for something or another. All my gamers ones are in one place. I've got like the GMT replacement sheets somewhere or another. In case I buy, games that I didn't have when the sheet came out. All right, so let's keep going. Taking fortresses by treachery. If a friendly Capitano general with any order, nothing to do with those tactical, is adjacent to a fortress hex occupied by an enemy force, the enemy force, this is again an optional roll, need not be besieged. A treachery attempt may not be attempted against an enemy force containing a Capitano general. During the activation of the Capitani segment, if the friendly Capitano general is activated, the owning player may declare one treachery attempt before doing any other action. Put a no move marker on the Capitano general to remind that he can't move during the current activation segment. Then the active player pays 2 APs. 0 are paid for Baron forces. Deducting them from the admin point total of the Capitano General, attempting the treachery, and decides how to make the attempt. Against an inactive Capitano occupying the fortress, by means of the population's support, or by trying to subvert troops relying on their reliability. A die is rolled and the result is determined. If the attempt succeeds, the enemy fortress is taken and surrenders. Otherwise, play resumes normally. Now, I think you don't pay if it's a Baron attempting. No, it has to be the Capitano General. Yeah, maybe if you're trying to bribe a Baron. I don't know. Treachery against the inactive Capitano. Yeah, I think that's the case. This case is applicable only if the Capitano has a rank of 2 or less. The rank of the inactive Capitano is subtracted from the die roll, and this succeeds on a 4 or more. Treachery by means of population support. This case is applicable only if the forces are located in a state aligned to the player making treachery. No die roll modifier, succeeds on a 5 or 6. Treachery by trying to subvert the troops. This case can always be done. The inactive player makes a discipline check, checking against the reliability and using the modifiers on the discipline table. In addition, a -1 modifier is applied, and a +1 is added if the active player decides to spend 1 more AP. Combat units obtaining a D or D star are immediately removed from play. If all the combat units fly away, the treachery attempt succeeds. And the final one is Italian mercenaries. During the deployment of reinforcement segment, both players, beginning with the first player, even the Turks, damn, we'll see about the special rules for this scenario, have the opportunity to recruit Italian mercenary combat units. To recruit, a Capitano must have a rank greater than or equal to 3. Yeah, well, that one. Yeah, that is actually applicable. Okay. Have a command path to his Capitano General, belong to an army with at least 1 AP, and be in a fortress hex. Then a die is rolled and the result is read on the tables below. I wouldn't put it past the mercenaries to fight for the Turks, at least in some cases. APs are deducted from the AP track of the army to which the recruiting Capitano belongs, and when required, Italian mercenary units are randomly selected from the counter mix. Whatever the table result, and I don't know where they are. I'm guessing they're not in this first scenario. Whatever the result, put a no move marker on the Capitano as a reminder he can't move during the next activation of Capitani. The no move marker will be removed during the next command phase. Each side may do many attempts, but may recruit at most 1 unit per reinforcement segment. Each side. The number of Italian mercenaries in the countermix is a design limit, and no new unit may be recruited after every unit has been recruited. If an Italian mercenary unit is reduced to 0 SP, it is permanently eliminated from the game and may not be recruited again. Once it's recruited, it's placed on the turn record track, 1 turn ahead. It will appear on the recruiting Capitano's card at its maximum strength during the next reinforcement segment, and from that moment will be treated just like any friendly combat unit for any purpose. I don't know how you keep track of which Capitano grabbed a mercenary. There are no counters for that because they're going to be sitting on the turn record track for a turn. I don't trust that. So you have to have an AP because you might have to pay it, and you roll a die. And you might get nothing and have to pay. You might get nothing and not have to pay. You might have to pay and get something, but one of the results is you get something, but you lose any other, you lose one of your other Italian mercenaries because there's like a dispute between them. For the scope of this rule, Italian mercenaries are only those combat units with a green background without a flag in the upper left portion of the counter, like these guys here. Whatevers. All right, that's the rules. I feel pretty comfortable with what the designer intended after having tracked down the All Is Lost Save Honor glitches that made their way in. I really do. I may struggle during play itself. There are some interpretations. I'll pencil them in as I work them out. There are some things that I feel have to be interpreted. The main one that I'm thinking of here had to do with what happens if, because I have to distribute the losses. That may actually be another artifact. I have to distribute the losses evenly among my units, and I can't apply demoralizations to units that have taken losses. That's the way the rule reads, and as far as I'm concerned, if you take enough losses, your forces wouldn't become demoralized. Again, I don't think that's what's intended. Like, none of your units can become demoralized. The assault table, if I can find it, this is going to be a pain in the ass, I can tell you. You give me this many charts and I got problems. Something I brought up with Tantomonta, there were too many charts in that, and there's this guy who's like, well, the game's a lot easier if you print out the player aids that, like, you know, people have made up to give you all these extra reminders. And I'm like, I've got enough fucking shit. And then this is really funny, on the last, you know, he's been pushing this throughout the game. And then on the last, like, video, I go into a rant because because something's only in the rules. And he's like, no, it's in the player aid. Like, the ones that are actually printed in the game. How can you be expected to, like, you know, do anything reasonable with the game if you can't be bothered to look in the player aids? There are so many, I can't remember what's on the fucking player aids. I absolutely did not know that was on there, but I did find it during my review, and I'm like, well, that's fucking weird. And then I ran into his comment, and it's like, dude, you're the same guy who, like, was telling me print out more player aids. I've got too much shit in this game already. Anyway, that's a different game and a different problem. But I think this one's going to be problematic with this many different charts that I need to have. And one that's kind of valuable over here, but I don't want to do a printout because doing my printer is a pain in the ass, a royal pain in the ass. Yeah. So I think we'll be able to do this. And we will start with that Otranto scenario. I don't know when. I'm kind of exhausted after fighting my way through the rules this way. But really happy about those Dixie counters, even though I'm sure I will never play Dixie. And again, not that I hate it or anything, it's just like, the only case that I can see for playing that game again, for the type of game it is, etc., is if I, like, end up in a relationship again where I'm trying to play all my games, you know, with someone. And I don't know if that's possible anymore, you know. Back when I did that, like, I don't know how many fucking games I have now, but back when I first did it, I was well under 500 games. And now, I don't know, it's probably closer to 1,500 or something like that. It's just, it's an insane sickness. All right. And I just don't want to let go of this opportunity to hear my voice rattling off. So I am going to do that.